So I am honored to have in the What is Your Right, the program, my program from San Francisco Television, bavc.org, Her Excellency Moushira Khattab, and all of you know, of course, Her Excellency for her action for the female genital mutilation. Means she created a law about that from Egypt, and she is the first leader in the world to do that. So I think this is a big, strong benefit for the humanity, definitely. And all her life, she continued to do strong actions for human rights. So she is one of the best experts in the worldwide, of course, for human rights. And I have to remember, sorry, this is a long introduction. I have to remember this is my special pleasure and the pleasure of Honorable Mary Steiner from San Francisco, the President of United Nations San Francisco, because Her Excellency came the November of 2018 to be the leader of an event of United Nations about children. So the first question to Her Excellency is, what are the best strategies that each country should take to arise awareness for human rights?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. It's always a great pleasure. And I'm glad that you have started your questions talking about human rights and the best strategies for human rights. I want to say that the best strategy to raise awareness of human rights is to adopt a participatory bottom-up approach. We need to educate the people, the grassroots, the most vulnerable, the poor. We need to educate them that they are holders of rights and that the state is legally committed to fulfill the rights to everyone without any discrimination. It's very important to teach them that human rights, all human rights, each and every right stems or starts from the right to dignity. We are all equal in dignity, whether we are rich, poor, male, female, Muslim, Christian, Jews, non-believer, able, disabled, regardless of the color of our skins, our orientation, we are entitled to the same set of rights without any discrimination. So raising awareness of the people and empowering people that nobody is doing them a favor, that this is a duty, this is a legal obligation on the part of the state.
Thank you, because especially, to help vulnerable people, to inform them, and when we see some situation in our life, each one of us, of course, that is not so right, about respect, human rights, and dignity, especially dignity, as you said, that is the main thing of, I think, aspect of human being. We have to refer to other people if we saw bad, bad situation, to try to to stop this bad situation, okay? So we have to contact the right organization too, that are everywhere in the world, to inform. Are many way now to inform, means that we have all the way to inform. If somebody is in Australia, and another person is in Egypt or USA, we don't have any problem. So thank you for this answer that is already a strong support for human rights. And the second question is, many organization for respect, dignity, and human rights planned initiative and institution and means initiatives that unfortunately often remain not operative. Also when, because it's finished the mandate, some head of state, there is a change of head of state, for example. So if a president, is finished the mandate and came another president and changed the politic, is not okay. Sorry, my opinion, that initiatives, strong initiative, wonderful initiative to respect human rights and dignity, stop because with the new president concerning republic, or anyway, this is extended to the kingdoms too, or especially to the kingdoms that where the democracy is not the favorite issue. Or change the politic, this initiative have to restart again. Her Excellency know very well, to restart again. Her Excellency also in Egypt, I have to mention that when she was a Minister of Families and Population, I was very touched by her initiative towards the women in Egypt and in the villages in Egypt, etc. So this was a superb initiative, and so what is possible to avoid this strong damage to the organization for human rights when change the politic of some country?
Well, I thank you very much for this very important question, and I refer again to my first reply. The people. The people are the strongest pillar of any state. When the people are educated about their rights, they will fight for their rights. Yes. And when they know that these are their own human rights, the human rights of the people, not of their bosses, not of the rich and famous, but the human rights of the poor and the vulnerable. So the people will defend their rights. The civil society organizations are very close also to the people. Involving the civil society organizations and enabling them will make a difference. You refer to Egypt. I am so proud to have initiated, coordinated, and led a societal movement against all forms of violence against children, FGM, child marriage, trafficking, all forms of violence against children. And we have seen two revolutions in Egypt, in 2011 and in the 30th of June revolution. And thank God, the law that I have engineered, which is a pride to every Egyptian, and I'm still talking about it globally, is still the same, intact. Why? Because it was drafted by the people. We spent 5 years educating the people, educating parliamentarians, educating judiciary, legislative, that these are the rights of our children. So when we had the Muslim Brotherhood in 2012, the first bill that was introduced to the parliament was to delete this or revoke this law, but the people defended it. And the civil society organizations defended it because they said, this is our law. We made this law, and this law is here to stay. And now this law is intact, and thank God, children gained more rights, women gained more rights, because the people know about the rights. Of course, political will is very important. The head of the state, the judiciary, the legislative, the executive must be committed to the rights of the people. But the strongest link of all of this is the people.
Right, because I was in Egypt during all the time of the revolution. Before, during the revolution, and after the revolution, I was present in Cairo, in the capital of Egypt, and Alexandria too, and the Biblioteca Alexandrina, etc. So I know exactly what is my experience, so could be different for other experience, what happened during the horrible time of the revolution in Egypt. And so I have to mention an episode that happened to me and 2,000 people in Western Balad, in downtown in Cairo. I am not a politician, of course. I am an artist, but of course, by my action of art, I try to defend human rights. So that's why I'm speaking. I am not a politician again, but okay. So, to be short, was so crowded in close to Tahrir Square at the end of the revolution. It was at the end of the revolution, and I was immersed in thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands people. That was the time to choose the actual president El-Sisi as president or not. And as Her Excellency Moushira Khattab said, the people, I am witness about that, okay? So it was like this, not different. All the people, the President El-Sisi asked, means he was not president, etc., asked, do you want me or not? All the people said yes.
They said they chose him. Yes,
they chose him. All the people was crowded of thousands and thousands and thousands people. Okay? Yes. And they said, yes, we want you. We don't want that Egypt. I don't want to enter too much in this, to be destroyed, because Egypt was destroyed, okay?
By the Muslim Brotherhood.
Okay, was destroyed, okay? And so, in 1 second, I have to say, in few months, when President El-Sisi takes the presidency, he started with the fastly to open new branch to Suez Canal first, and then to facilitate the commerce. So Egypt, believe me, audience, that etc., in 1 year was destroyed. In 1 year was again Egypt, okay? Thanks to the people. As Her Excellency Moushira Khattab said, thanks to the people. So, of course, Egypt is an example about the law for female genital mutilation, so was not changed, the law. is as Her Excellency was created by her, and was not any change, but because the people. So it's extremely important, as I said before, if somebody of us can see strange situations like against dignity, against human rights, etc., can contact the right organization that are everywhere. So the third question, I think this interview is extremely important because all the world is affected about that. And so we can go, after we will speak about climate change, COVID, epidemic issue, etc. But before, Her Excellency is the first vice chairman of African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of Child, and member of the International Board of Trustees of the African Child Policy Forum. The president is Her Excellency Gracia Marcel. What are what is in Africa, speaking about the continent Africa, what is the support of the African Union about the issue that we are talking about?
Well, are you talking about the Renaissance Dam?
Also, yes.
To talk about the African Committee on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, which
exactly. So we can we can please speak about the committee for the children.
Okay. I'm honored really to be a member of the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. Both the committee and the African Child Policy Forum, these are two important entities that work for the rights of African children. The African Committee is a committee established by the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, and the committee is composed of experts, and the mandate of the committee is to assist member states to fulfill the rights of their children. And states present periodic reports to the committee, and they go stand before the committee, where the committee reviews these reports and make recommendation to delegation of states and to members of the civil society in order to advance the human rights of the children. The committee usually looks at the measures of implementation of human rights. It looks to see if the state has solid laws that guarantees the rights of children. If the state has a national plan of action, if the state is allocating enough financial and human resources towards the implementation of the human rights of the children, to see if the government is working in partnership with the civil society, to see if the public is aware of the rights of the child, if children themselves are aware of their rights. And the committee makes recommendations for the delegation of the state and for members of the civil society on how to improve the enjoyment by children of their rights. Usually it recommends cooperation with other states, cooperation with the African Union, cooperation with the United Nations. So this is a committee of experts elected by the members of the African Union. The Africa Child Policy Forum is a civil society organization, a very solid organization that works for advancing accountability to Africa's children. They work on providing knowledge. They work on dialogue and advocacy for change. The Africa Child Policy Forum works to make sure that African governments are increasingly fulfilling their child rights obligations. As I said, states bear legal responsibility. So the Africa Child Policy Forum looks at this, make sure that states undertake legal measures, put in place policies, and take practical measures to improve the well-being of all children. It works, the Africa Child Policy Forum, like the committee, also works on improving the legal protection of children in Africa, and to make sure that effective child protection systems are in place to make sure that all children, especially those in vulnerable situations, poor children, children deprived of their families, refugee children, internally displaced children because of armed conflict or because of storms and desertification and climate change. So the Africa Child Policy Forum works on this. They prepare reports, very solid reports on the situation of African children and whether the situation is improving or is facing a challenge. Like right now, COVID-19 is creating havoc on everyone. So both the Committee on the Rights of the Child and both the Committee on the Rights of the Child and the Africa Child Policy Forum work towards the same end, but one is a civil society organization and the other one is a committee within the African Union composed of experts elected by member states.
So this concrete answer is extremely important because the traffic of children and human traffic often happen sometimes with an excuse, sometimes is not an excuse because poverty.
Yes, child trafficking in Africa is a big problem, and it's a big problem because of conflict, because of some practices like female genital mutilation, because of some traditions, child marriage as well. Child soldier is a big problem. Some children in Africa are sold and they go to Europe or other places to work underground, and this is really a huge problem, and we expect COVID-19 pandemic to make the situation more challenging, and we need to put our efforts to protect our children against this.
Because dramatic time that we are spending now because of coronavirus COVID also as often the negative things they have the positive phase. The positive phase can be, as you indirectly said, that the people, because the COVID must be connected with the structure of the state of health, and the health is not only the physical health, means the body, but also is something
The mental health.
exactly connected with the mentality, and the mentality is connected with the traditions. So sure, in the positive way, this very dramatic time that we are living now with COVID have this positive phase. So to by the structure of healthcare, so doctors, etc., to help the people that have some wrong mentality, wrong traditions, because generally the people think that no, is our tradition. No, it means our tradition doesn't mean it's right always. No way. So the tradition, sometimes are very damage a lot the people, as female genital mutilation, as something that is doesn't respect the dignity, etc., etc. So in this time, the people doesn't have to live, without to have some vision around them. Also, all of us, we are busy about our life, that often is not easy, but we have to see what happens in the world. We have to be in touch with the structure that could sustain us. Okay, so thank you for this other very important, I have to say, teaching to the people, to help the people. And another dramatic situation we are living is, of course, the climate change, because the climate change, thanks, I put some irony or sarcasm, thanks to some human being, that they are also not totally responsible, but in big part responsible of climate change, can produce epidemics, because climate change the condition of the life. So of course, if the condition of the life are changed, obviously we can't, it's very difficult to control situation as epidemic, etc., etc. About the connection between climate change and COVID and other epidemics, what could be the way to try to protect humanity against the climate change?
Okay, thank you very much for this important connection that you have made between COVID and climate change, and the fact that COVID is a game changer. Life will never become the same after COVID-19, and we have to learn how to live with the new normal. It will not be the same. COVID-19 took everyone by surprise. rich countries and poor countries, nobody knew what to do. We saw chaos in the strongest, richest country, the United States, and smaller and poorer countries, because the systems in these countries were tailored for the normal. It was not tailored or designed to work in a crisis situation like the COVID-19, which was a mysterious virus. It took scientists a year to find, to know about this very vague virus, and that's why they opted for the lockdown. They locked down schools, restaurants, theaters, people stopped going to work, everybody worked virtual, and of course others couldn't work virtual, so it was really a chaos. And it started as a health issue, but we ended up with a humanitarian crisis. The financial and economic crisis is much worse. Of course, we've lost many people and millions were affected, but we have to know how to deal with pandemics. So I can say that today, as we speak, pandemics, climate change, and demographic explosion are three issues that have emerged as threats to international peace and security. We need political will to enable the United Nations to deal with such chaotic situation, with such crisis. I think that the UN member states will need to review its charter to enable the Security Council to meet its responsibility under the charter. These three important issues, pandemics, climate change, and demographic explosion, constitute threats to international peace and security, and maybe we need to amend the charter to enable the Security Council to act. Unfortunately, the Security Council did not act as it should to deal with the COVID-19. Now, the Charter of the United Nations gave us other options to deal in such situations. We all remember when COVID-19 erupted, the Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, on the 23rd, I think, of March 2020, he invited the world to put guns down and go into complete ceasefire to focus on fighting COVID-19. Took the Security Council till July to pick up the call of the Secretary General. To the contrary, we see that the World Food Programme did very well in delivering food to those who need it most, despite the constraints of the COVID-19. So COVID-19 took the United Nations by surprise, took the Security Council by surprise. We need, as member states, to look into how the world dealt with the pandemic and how to avoid the repeat of such chaotic situation, to avoid the lockdown, which member states did to protect its people from the infection, because they were facing a virus that was a big enigma, a big mystery. They didn't know how to deal with it. But now we need to prepare ourselves for such pandemics. And after all, we have not seen the end of COVID-19 anyway.
Thank you. And this about this topic, I have to touch the delicate issue of the scientific research. I think there is not too much control by governments in the world, in all the planet, about some issue extremely dangerous of scientific research. Of course, I'm speaking about viruses.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a global pandemic. It's a global pandemic, and we cannot face it each country alone. We need international cooperation to deal with a global pandemic. And I have to say that international cooperation was not the best. And we have to do better as a global community.
Right.
Next time, do better when we are faced with such a crisis. It's a crisis.
Yes, so are need laws to regulate, I think, the scientific research, especially about viruses, because we know that sometimes, this kind of scientific research are direct to destroy the humanity, are not for the benefit of humanity. So now, all the world touched the tragedy of coronavirus, and we know the story. That means we could know the story because we don't know the story exactly, but we open our eyes about that I think no strong law to prevent the bad and very dangerous scientific research about maybe to create viruses very dangerous, because sometimes the scientists, they can't have all the control. And so I think that the intervention, as you said, globally of the government about the scientific research, because anyway the scientific research means take money often by governments. So the government sometimes yes, sometimes not, but often the money came from government to sustain the scientific research, so the government can have the power to create new, as you said, new regulations also about the scientific research. My friend Guglielmo means the grandson of the genius Guglielmo Marconi, the inventor of wireless radio, etc. He said, my discovering are for the benefit of humanity and not for its destruction. And this was the time before the Second World War. Okay, so what do you think? You already gave an answer. What do you think about the... Please, to create a new law.
Yeah, transparency, information sharing, and no state or no entity should withhold information. They must share information to protect human beings from falling sick. And now we have another problem at hand. We have the vaccine, and who will get the vaccination? Rich countries will get the vaccination. And what about poorer countries? The citizens of poorer countries have the right to be protected from infection. So the United Nations will have to deal with the distribution of the vaccine. Who should get the vaccine free of charge and who should pay for it and who should get it first and who should get it later. This is another test facing the United Nations.
Definitely, yes. So the last topic, then I hope to enjoy to have you often in television, etc. So the last issue, because Her Excellency. She has of course, all of you know, a huge experience about issue that can save humanity or anyway are for the benefit of humanity. Do you think to give some present to the humanity, writing a book about your experience?
Thank you very much for thinking that I have a great experience. I'm really flattered. Actually, my children and many of my friends are encouraging me to write.
And me too.
Yeah, thank you. Number one, I'm a doer. Every day I'm faced with a new responsibility. I have to give a speech here, a speech there. I have to prepare for it. I am asked to revise some papers.
But somebody can help you.
I know. I will do it. I promise you, I will do it. One day I will have... I will sit down and I will write it. I have a lot to share, and especially for my children. My children really want me to write my story, and it's not only my story. I have so many people who help me make it a story worth telling. Many, many people. I owe it to them. So and you're one of them.
Thank you so much. And so, also by children came this wish, this will to have step by step, of course, some book about you. So thank you so immensely for the honor to have you in this interview and to support all of us in our difficult path of the life, because we need, to be guided, because we are confused in this, situation.
Everybody is confused in this time now. Everybody needs support, and this is the time to put our hands together for the sake of humanity.
Exactly. So this is the best conclusion for this great interview, and so we remain a little bit between us, but now I stop to record for the television. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you. All